Hi, and welcome to this webinar presented by the Lithius Group. I'm Ben Bomar, president of Lithius Group. We're a Minneapolis-based consultancy. I'll get into that later. But you are here, I hope, to learn a little bit about building bench strength and how to close those knowledge gaps that we know exist between experts within your organization and those rising stars. Please feel free to leave comments in the chat as we go, particularly if there's any issue with the mic. I'd love to know about that as we move along. But let's start with a story, and I hope that it speaks to you and your experience. A lot of talent management works in cycles. There is often a performance management piece that happens maybe beginning of the year, mid-year, and end of the year with some reviews. Oftentimes, there's going to be some sort of 9-box evaluation. If you're not familiar, that's a McKinsey developed tool. You establish, is the person performing well, below standard, above standard, and what's their promotability or potential within the organization. And so we might identify where those people are. And then we might have a look at an org chart and sort of say, okay, well, what would we do if X person were to leave, if the knowledge exodus happens, who's going to step up? And all of that is a lot of work. And then you realize that you need to get the information from one of your team members into the brain and the mind of another, one of those rising stars. And it can be tiring. And quite frankly, I've been there before, and I get tired of thinking I've done all of this work to evaluate and plan, and yet now I have this extra activity of getting information from my legacy folks to my newest folks. And so that's really what we're going to focus on today is what are some steps that you can take, very actionable, very easy, very get started and have some quick wins that are going to allow you to begin that process of knowledge transfer. And that really is our area of expertise. And I'll talk more about that in a moment. But what you're going to come away with today, whenever you're watching this live or on demand, are hopefully some enlightening tools. So rather than just a light bulb, here we've got the flashlight. So deciding what to transfer is key. And then figuring out how you want to package it. What's the right medium? There's a choice there, and there are some better choices than others. And then how would you get started with a one-person pilot? What would that look like so that you could see how easy it's going to be to do this or not within your organization? But I think you'll be surprised with with what's possible. Then we'll go through some common scenarios, some of the stuff that I received, some ideas I received from feedback from people who are attending, and then finally additional resources on how to help yourself. But I've alluded a couple of times to myself and to Lithius, and so just a quick introduction. I am Ben Bomar. I've been working in a variety of disciplines in a variety of contexts throughout my career. And in 2021, I founded Lithius Group because I had just experienced way too much disruption when key employees left and all of their institutional knowledge left with them. And so with Lithius Group, now we allow our clients and we have practices and ways that allow us to celebrate, retain, and share that institutional knowledge. And we often use this baton image because that really is what we need to do. We need to allow there to be a smooth handoff of information and knowledge and wisdom from one organization or one person in the organization to another. And when we do that, that looks like better succession, better development, better onboarding. And it happens for our clients through curriculum that they have proven and tested and built from within their own best practices. So it's not just industry standards, which are great, but really what is proven to work for those folks within their organizations. Speaking of others, let's take a moment for a quick networking opportunity. If you are watching live or on demand, feel free to make a comment, connect with other folks, share your LinkedIn handle if you wish. You are all proactive leaders if you're watching. And so that is really good company to keep. So take a look around and see who else is registered for this event. Those folks are thinking about how to be proactive in their organizations. All right, let's keep moving. How do we decide what to transfer? Well, I've already mentioned this phrase of institutional knowledge. And we often know what we mean when we say that, right? Intuitively, we value these people who have lived through experiences within our organization. They know how things work. They are a trusted source of information. And so we use this metaphor of kintsugi. We use the baton often, but this Japanese art of mending broken pottery with gold to create something of value, that is a lot of what you value about your people with institutional knowledge. They have seen your systems when they were broken or not at their best, and they have helped repair them and make them what your clients and colleagues are expecting and looking forward to when they work with you. So all of this to say, institutional knowledge, we think we know it when we see it, and yet there's a better way to define it. And we dig deeper with this concept of knowing, doing, and being. Because when we break institutional knowledge down into these three components, we then have a way to articulate what it is that we would miss about someone and what it is that we want them to share. And so oftentimes I'll describe, knowing as book learning. It's things that can be captured. Maybe it is lived experience, but it's knowing your industry, knowing your company, knowing your processes. And then that bleeds into doing, which is often these days moving the mouse. It is performing tasks, and that the skill set of the people that are so important to you and your organization. What are they able to do? And then lastly, what is their being? How do they approach and support your organization, build your culture? Why are they the people that you want to have on the team? That's their being. It might be that they're a great leader. It might be that they're a fantastic individual contributor. It might be that they're innovative. It's something about them that is hard to capture, but is super important. Let's go a little deeper here now into each of these three and start talking about the medium and why it matters. So I talked about knowing and knowledge, and I've got some examples up here, right? We've got customer personas. Those can be understood and known, or the company history, or these other examples that you see here. And oftentimes facts and figures do belong in a document. So I don't mean to say that there's no time for a wiki or a document or a PDF. Facts, figures, things that don't change very often that can be memorialized, those are often excellent sources of information for documentation. And certainly documentation, manuals, PDFs, et cetera, is how a lot of organizations have preserved information for a while. So we should all know how to do that. However, video is becoming the standard for communicating even hard facts and figures. It's faster. It's multi-sensory, right? So we're reading it, we're hearing it, we're seeing it. And also it's often curated. I can get to my lesson faster than I can flipping through a large book or knowing which chapter I need to skip to in order to get the answer that I want. And so for knowledge that might involve stories of how things were or how things work within your industry. I can remember trying to explain how margins worked in our distributor relationships to folks. And that was something that I repeated so often, I finally recorded it. So whether it's product overviews, stories about your industry, narrating how you review information, all of those suit video very, very well. So choose video often and choose it correctly. But if you do have just hard facts and figures that aren't going to change, a document is perfect. The next thing is talking about capturing expertise, right, in doing. And I want to spend a little time on this idea of digital daisy chains. In our online world, where people are using multiple sources of information and multiple softwares to process information, there's often something that goes like this. I visit this website, I download a CSV, I take that CSV, I turn it into an Excel document. In that Excel workbook, I create a pivot table. That pivot table produces a number. I place that number in a PowerPoint. I turn that PowerPoint into a PDF and I send that PDF to a certain distribution group on a certain day of the month. May not be all the steps, but moving between various sources of data, various software packages within the Microsoft or the Apple or the Google suite, those types of daisy chains are how your business runs. And those are often the ones that are so difficult to explain when you are driving to your vacation at 5:30 on a Friday. And yet that always seems to be the time when those daisy chains break down. So whether it's digital daisy chains, escalation management, physical tasks, determining how someone does something and how they leverage their expertise is something that deserves to be memorialized. And again, videos are excellent for this. You can screen share. If you're working on a piece of equipment, you can set up an easy tripod and a phone, and you've got, frankly, a great recording booth. And those can be narrated live or narrated after the fact to provide some context to someone who might be watching that process flow. There are also new tools that allow you to create enhanced documentation. So this is sort of a mix between traditional documentation, step-by-step guides, but they also have much more of the context and the screen grabs. And we use a product called Scribe, and I highly recommend it to you. If you have any questions, let me know. But Scribe is a great way to document confusing processes online. So big thumbs up from us. We're big fans, and we leverage it in our work with our clients. Now, we've gotten knowledge, we've got doing. Let's talk about being. And being almost always shows up as a contribution to culture, because there are things that you should and should not do. There is a journey that has happened for a key person within your organization. And there are things that they have learned along the way that they have only learned by experience. And here again, we want to be using more than documentation to share. Handing someone a binder can be helpful, but it really doesn't convey all the tone and nuance that often this being and culture and history piece has to offer. So let's go back to the good old one-on-ones. Whether they're virtual or they're in real life or in person, one-on-one conversations are an excellent way to capture and preserve this information. Now, I would recommend that you consider transcribing them, because everything else that we've created is really scalable. But when we have a one-on-one conversation that we don't record, that is important and valuable, but it is one person teaching someone else. That scalability idea is going to come back in a moment. There's also a great time for video. Video can be asynchronous, meaning people can get tasks to sort of walk through a report or walk through their processes, but they can also be synchronous or a tag team. And so maybe storytelling, if it's the history of the organization or on the job training, it's nice to have another partner. Think about those podcasts that you love so much. I bet your favorites have multiple hosts rather than someone sort of mainlining into the microphone, which I ironically realize is what I'm doing right now. And lastly, use the good old lunch and learn. Is there an opportunity to interview some of your best and brightest who have been with you for a while, and give them some questions in advance, prepare them about the topics that you want to talk about, but really celebrate them and recognize them as being someone worthy of having a little mini talk show while others eat their brown bag lunch and they learn at scale. So those are recommendations on selecting the right medium for the content. And at this point, I hope that you have a couple things in mind. One, I hope that there is a sort of a face that's sort of floating above, in front of you, as I talk about who this rock star, who this legacy, this key person is within your organization. And I hope that at least one example of what they know, what they can do, and who they are as a person is coming to mind as I discuss knowing, doing, and being. I want to give you a moment and recommendation. Now's a great time to let them know that they came to mind. And a simple way, you can put this on LinkedIn. You can send them a quick email. I was asked today who is a rock star on my team, and lots of names came to mind, but yours was first. If you want to soup that up a little bit, then you can say, I really appreciate X, Y, or Z, right? What you know, what you can do, or what you bring to the team. So that's my recommendation. Is today's a great day to let someone know how much you appreciate them. So go ahead and try that. All right. The next thing we see is I want to recommend a one-person pilot. And you can screen grab this. If you want the copy of this, just drop me a note at info@lithius.com. I'll be glad to send this out to you. But this is a great framework for building a one-person pilot. So I've asked you to think about who that person is. I've asked you to think about a few examples. And so I would recommend that you write their name at the top and then say, what is it that they know lights out? They are an encyclopedia for that. Hopefully you can come up with 3 examples. Then what are they expert at performing and doing? And lastly, how do they contribute to their culture? How do they represent the best of your culture? Put a couple ideas down there. Then make this next decision. How many people need to know these golden nuggets of wisdom that these folks have, right? If it's only one, fine, a direct successor, I get it. I hope that you will lean into the idea that perhaps for some of the lessons, the knowledge, the doing, and the being, that some of those everyone would benefit from, or a larger group, because we've done traditional succession planning with sort of the journeyman and apprentice and mentor, but mentoring at scale can be really powerful. And now we have the tools with video, documentation, SOPs, etc., to be able to make that happen. So you've identified who they are. You've identified 3 things that they know how to do, they know, and that who they are. You've decided who needs to get that. Make a commitment that in the next month, help them have the time to document, record, chat about one of those topics. Just pick one. And you'll be amazed, one, at how fast creating those 3 items will happen. And also, now you've got a list of 9 topics for this key person, so you could continue to build on this momentum. Let's look at a couple examples that came from our work history, and then also a question that we got from some of the attendees in this meeting. These are 3 really common scenarios for us. You've got sort of a team lead, a little bit of a manager, mainly an individual contributor here in claims processing in Lilly. We've got Stan, who's a sales leader, leads others, mentors others willingly. And then we have Monica, who is the founder and the visionary. And if you're someone who, when I see visionary come through, I think EOS. And this is an excellent, a friend of mine says, double click. All of this work is a nice double click into that EOS idea of documenting roles and responsibilities. Now we're going deeper into that area. So it's a nice tag on to the EOS philosophy. But let's talk about Lily for a second. Lily, encyclopedic knowledge of warranty processes. She's managing our group inboxes. She's, there's still a couple of paper checks that has to be cut every month. And she's got that archaic process down pat. And she is just wonderful at face-to-face relationship building and team support. What could her program look like? Well, a simple plan might be, first off, let's do a video walkthrough of those warranty policies. There are 65 different warranty policies. What if we were to have her share the warranty document on screen and then just sort of scroll through? Might not do it all at once because 65 is a lot, but scroll through and say, hey, this one is pretty common. Here's the name of it. This is how it works. There are lots of claims against this one. There are very few claims against this. I like X about this. I don't like Y about it so much. This is what's tricky to remember. Just have her walk through that. Or maybe when it comes to issuing paper checks, again, maybe there are several levels of approval, a couple of systems that have to happen. Scribe is an excellent software package that I would recommend for using this. And then her being, right? She is probably someone on your team that everyone relies on and goes to. Have a lunch for her. Make it a recognition lunch and learn. Solicit some questions. Let her know what those are up front so that she's not surprised in front of the group, and then take it from there. Also, I grayed out another idea that I had just kind of keeping with the one-person pilot theme. Now, let's talk about Stan. Stan is our sales leader. He has been through a bunch of product launches, and he really knows all the strategic accounts. He leads and mentors others when it comes to trade show expertise. He's also great at closing, and he's just unflappable, and folks love to be with him. There's a lot here that we would love for all of our salespeople to get up to speed on and be as proficient as Stan quickly. Well, here's the plan there. Maybe there's a way to say, hey, can you map out the customer personas for 3 key strategic customers. Create a PowerPoint, deliver that presentation, and let us capture that, and then we can share that insight with others. Maybe during a trade show that you've got coming up, he could record his reflection at the end of the day. A voice memo would work, and perhaps other people who are there could articulate why they value Stan so much and what he offers. And then we can help Stan be that natural mentor at scale by having him capture what's gone well, what hasn't, the mantras and the information and the ideas that he has collected throughout his career. Those are all really ripe for a conversation, a podcast type episode of audio only, his own Q&A. But there's a way for him to mentor at scale. All right, last scenario of these 3. And I want to step back a moment before we get to Monica, who's that founder and visionary, and remind you of a phrase that you might have heard before. And that is, we judge ourselves by our intentions and others by their behavior. And that's from Stephen Covey. And I share that with you because I, as a founder, know how hard it is to think about someone else caring as much about the business as I do. And yet I have to remember that other people are judging me based on my behavior. They are used to my actions. They don't always know the motivations of my heart and what is inside my thought processes. And I share that with you to lower the bar. You can get started as a founder and as a visionary and as an owner of an organization by focusing on your actions. And you will find that your intentions will come out as a part of that conversation. But when you focus on actions, you lower the bar that you have to reach. And I hope that helps it be easier for you to think about how to get started. So when we look at Monica, here we are, founder and visionary of the organization. She knows the company origin story. She's got insights on the industry, and she is just beloved and recognized and appreciated for her leadership and her management style. Wonderful. I hope that applies to you too. Now for Monica, let's start off with the origin story. Everybody, including Marvel, loves a good one. Let's go with the origin story. What might that narration be? Again, the origin story is not going to change. That is likely to be a good source for a document. Write up 5 pages, maybe invite other legacy and longtime team members to contribute their recollections to the origin story of the organization. Up next, doing. People recognize Monica for the fact that she engages with every member of the team. I promise you that is not an accident. She is not born that way. She instead has a system. There is a way that she plans and manages her engagement with all the employees that can be taught. And through that teaching, the motivations and the intentions and the personal values will come out, guaranteed. And then there's the culture journey, right? There have been mistakes that have been made along the way. It's not necessarily the origin story. It's how the culture came to be. What did they attempt? What were some of the original beliefs? How are things built and changed today? So how does the organization continue to listen? These are great ways for Monica to share her insights. Again, via a 2-person conversation, by recording herself, answering these questions and talking about the culture is a great way to get started. So if we were to do that, here's what a year might look like. And this is a very conservative look. If we just focused on 1 key person a quarter and we identified maybe just 3, not even 9, but 3 of those institutional knowledge components, knowing, doing, and being, and captured those, here we have a calendar of 12 lessons for the year. I threw in a marketing leader. But if you could actually pick up some speed and some skill, you're creating a dozen lessons easily each quarter. And this really flows with our proven STONE approach, right? So identify specific institutional knowledge. That's our survey and target portion of our approach. Match the medium to the content. Operationalize it so that people will use it. And then start small with a 1-person pilot. Nurture that. Help your subject matter experts and key people become better teachers. Start small. You'll have much better wins. We know that. So as we're wrapping up here with another 4 or 5 minutes to go, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. We'll get those in a second. But I do want to talk a little bit about how we can continue to support you. We have products that we supply or provide to our clients, primarily our Key Person program, which is focused on those folks who know a lot about a lot. And then our Best Practice and SOP program, where we develop those how-tos and process documentation over the course of a year. And we have just recently launched our Rapid KPP. So I'd encourage you to keep info@lithius.com or my contact information at the end. If someone resigns today, we can get started tomorrow and we can cover the basics inside the 2 weeks notice period. That's a new invention and quite helpful. And we know that it's proven to be successful because we've done it multiple times. We've helped prepare for retirements. We have helped map out processes and SOPs, and we've helped entire leadership teams create a playbook for their organization that gives a future acquirer more confidence. Translation, assigns more value to that purchase. And we've seen it work in just a variety of sectors. There's almost no sector that it doesn't work. Manufacturing, healthcare, insurance, service and impact, private equity are all where we have spent our time. In terms of resources for you, I want to let you know about a couple of things. If you're wondering what the financial impact could be to your organization, I encourage you to check out our risk and benefit calculator on our website. It quantifies the value of your key employees' knowledge. If you're wondering how you might get started, but you kind of want to do a little homework on your own, let me know. Email us at info@lithius.com and I'll be glad to send you the Key Person Risk Worksheet, which will help you assign goals to people, people to skills, and then prioritize what's going to help you ensure your plan. And we do webinars about every 2 to 4 weeks during the academic year or so, take the summer off. And those are all available as a playlist on our YouTube channel. So I encourage you to visit there as well. So last thing I'll say, traditional call to action. If this has spoken to you and if you would like to learn more, please book a call. Learn more about our approach, see some details on what the outputs look like, decide if that's the right step for you. And if that is what you'd like to do, visit our website. There's a book a call button on every single page, or just email us at info@lithius.com. Here's my contact information. I hope you'll reach out. Again, save it. If you ever need us for a regrettable turnover situation and rapid 2 weeks notice surprise type thing, would be happy to support you and take that call. Wonderful. Well, I'll finally kind of open it up for last comments. Anything in the chat, folks who are watching, if you have questions, please put them there. But before I jump to those, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I'm glad that you were here, whether you're here live or you're here watching on demand. You are taking a proactive step to moving knowledge within your organization to the next person in the chain. And that will create a teaching culture that will improve how well your organization remembers how to succeed. And it will welcome the new people that join you, and it will celebrate the people who go on to their well-deserved retirements. So thank you so much for being here today.